Welcome to This Week There's a Book in My Nook. The first book that I'm going to talk about is Flipped, which is by Wendelin Van Dranen, and this is in the young adult department. I think she's also wrote some books in juvenile.
Yes,
I
she
thought
has.
so. Okay, and to be honest, I thought this book was more geared toward a younger young adult audience. I'm thinking maybe like 12 to 15, I think would be more, because they're like 8th grade getting ready to be freshmen.
Okay.
It starts out when they're actually freshmen, whatever. It starts out they're actually really little. It's like 2nd grade, like 7 or 8. And Bryce is moving into his new house, and this girl that is basically like a little dirty hurricane comes flying over, introduces herself, and just plants herself basically in the middle of their house. No matter what they do, they can't get rid of her. It freaks him out so much that he goes in the bathroom and locks himself in and won't come out when she leaves. He just is not interested. You know how boys are at that age with little girls. Right. She is instantly, her name is Juliana, and she instantly, it's love at first sight for her.
In 2nd grade?
In 2nd grade. She just thinks he is everything, and she is like that from then on. I mean, all through the school years, she's chasing him, and he is trying to run as fast as he can to get away from this girl. And, of course, they're neighbors. And his family is kind of, I don't know how to say it, a little snotty, a little stuck up. His dad has a good job, and their house is the nicest on the street, and a lot about appearances. His mom wants everything to be perfect. And Juliana's family is completely opposite. They don't have a lot. They struggle. Their yard is kind of a dirt patch instead of a yard, and it's all overgrown. And you kind of learn more about the families as the book goes on. And you learn that the reason Juliana's family is like this is the dad's brother is disabled, and he's in a home, and they have to pay for him to be in this home because he does not want him to have to go to like a state facility. So that's where all their money goes. All these years he's wanted to be responsible for his little brother and to take care of him. I don't know if it's little or older, I guess, because you just think it's little, but and Juliana's never even met him because the dad's kind of, not for sure if the kids should meet him, how that's going to be. And as Bryce gets older, he kind of learns more about Juliana through actually his grandfather. His grandfather moves in with them. And he instantly takes to Juliana and thinks that this kid is great, and he loves her personality and says it reminds him of Bryce's grandmother when she was younger, that she kind of had that personality. And Bryce starts seeing her a little bit differently. He starts seeing that she's very vivacious, and he just kind of sees what they're going through. And his dad is, let me tell you, not a good guy. I mean, I don't know how to say it elsewise. He just constantly puts everybody down, and he's rude, and Bryce starts seeing that his dad maybe isn't that great of a guy too. He starts kind of seeing as you get older, sometimes when you get older you see people for what they are more than what you thought when you were little, and you just didn't really look into the way people were.
Well, are you saying that he looks at his dad differently? Is this
Yes.
his dad?
He starts looking at his dad differently when he starts hearing some of the comments that his dad is making about people. Like when he finds out that the next door neighbors have the handicapped relative, he starts saying, well, that makes sense. No wonder. And just really rude and hurtful things. And Bryce starts thinking, wow. And the grandfather kind of knew that all along. He's never been it's the mom's dad. And in fact, even the mom starts looking at the dad a little bit differently. It just kind of, I don't know, it's kind of a coming of age, but you kind of see, well, towards the end of the book, towards the end of the book, Bryce actually becomes interested in Juliana, and now the tables are reversed because she's not interested in him anymore. He has taken so long, and because he's actually said some kind of hurtful things to her in the last couple of years, she starts thinking, maybe he's not as great as I thought he was, and he thinks maybe she's better than I thought she was. So it's kind of like how their perceptions have flipped. It's a cute book. I mean, definitely, I think junior high, maybe freshmen would really enjoy this. And if you like this kind of book, another one like that is Stargirl. I think I've talked about this one other time. This is by Jerry Spinelli. And this is about a girl who's very different. And she comes into high school. She's a new student, and everybody loves her because she's really quirky and unique. But she has to that's really not her personality. She's kind of like acting like somebody she's not so that people will like her and think she's interesting. And once she starts kind of calming down and being who she really is, they're not really that thrilled with her anymore. So it's kind of like, do you be who you really are and your friends are your friends, or do you put on this persona of somebody you're really not so that everyone likes you better? So I thought this one kind of reminded me, and this is, like I said, by Jerry Spinelli. These are both in the young adult section. And I think there's another one after Stargirl called something else, but I'm not for sure what it is. But these kind of reminded me similar of each other. And another one is Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. I don't know if you've ever read this.
I've heard the movie.
By Anne Brashares. I loved this book. Really liked the movie. Now, this is an older group of girls than this. These are both younger. These girls are actually juniors or seniors in high school. And this is about 4 best friends, and it's about how they buy these pair of jeans at a thrift store. And even though the girls are all different sizes, somehow they can all fit into these jeans. And supposedly these jeans make them feel confident and happy, and they have these great experiences whenever they have these jeans. So they decide that the whole summer, because they're all going to be separated doing different things in the summer. One's going to soccer camp, one's going to Europe, like on an exchange student. One is actually staying in the hometown, and another one's going to see her dad and his new family that she has not seen. And so they decide they're each going to keep the pants for so many weeks and then mail it to the other friend. They're going to wear them, write about their experiences, and mail it. It is really good. I mean, it kind of connects them all, and you learn about each one and what they're going through. And I think there's several books in this series also. But it kind of reminded me of the coming of age and changing and everything, if you like that sort of book, which I do. But this, like I said, is a little bit older. They're junior, senior sort of age. So that's another one that would be a good one.
Is the movie pretty close to the
The
book?
movie's good, yeah. It has, I'm trying to think, because it's been a long time ago when the movie came out. It has, what is it, America Ferrera? She was one of the girls. The girl that was on the Gibson, was it?
Gossip Girl.
No, not Gossip Girls. Gilmore Girls.
Gilmore, okay.
It's one of the girls that was on the Gilmore Girls. I can't think of who the other 2 girls are.
I can't either.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the movie.
The movie's good, yeah. So, okay, off to you now.
Okay. To start with, in the children's department, we have this book. It's called Shoes for Me by Sue Fleiss. And the reason why I picked this one, I also read it for our Dial a Story, which you can call and listen to a story that is read to you. In case you want the number, it's 477-5226. Anyway, I read this book, and the reason why I picked this book is it has to do with going shoe shopping.
Oh, like
And
school.
Yes. And I mean, my gosh, who hasn't gone school shopping? If you remember going school shopping as a kid, and then if you have kids of your own going school shopping, sometimes it's a good experience.
No.
Sometimes it isn't.
No. Taking my daughter shoe shopping was one of the worst experiences of my life.
I
am
have
not
to
kidding.
say, this year was a breeze.
She was horrible with shoes in the past. None of them fit right. None of
Right.
them felt right.
And that's
It was
exactly
horrible.
what this is. She finds one pair of shoes and her mom says, not at that price. And that was a big thing back when my kids would go for shoes. You know, they'd want these $150.
Especially the boys.
Yes.
Believe it or not, yeah.
Yeah, the Air Jordans and all those shoes. And I'm like, no. And then her mom picks out a pair of shoes, and they're like real babyish. And they like quack like ducks. And she says, absolutely not am I wearing those shoes. And so then towards the end, she says, you know, the mom says, I think it's just time to go. We're never going to find a pair of shoes.
I've been there, but you've done that too.
And the little girl says, no, we can't leave. We can't leave. And then finally, she finds her pair of shoes at the end. But you'll have to read it to see all the different kinds of shoes that she goes through. And it's just really cute. It's not just about a girl, even though it has to do with a girl, but she talks about boy shoes, styles for boy shoes. And I think it can be universal.
Right.
You know, shoe shopping is shoe shopping.
Bree's okay now, but when she was younger, I can even remember telling my husband, I've got to take Bree shoe shop, and he'd be like, I'm so sorry. It was that bad, yeah.
I have to say this year, it maybe it's because they're older. Well,
Right, yeah.
like my one daughter, she's going to be a senior, and she has to wear like a uniform. So, you know, you can only get certain colors,
Right.
so it's not too hard to pick out pants and shirts. But my son going off to college and buying him clothes, absolutely a breeze.
Yeah, I don't have any trouble now.
It's just expensive.
Yeah. I don't have much trouble now out of it, and Brie hasn't really grown much in the last couple of years.
Right.
In fact, she shrank. So
There you go.
So yeah, I haven't really had as much. But when she was little, it was bad. It was bad. Either oh no, yeah.
And then in the juvenile department, we have The Illuminated Adventures of Flora and Ulysses. And this has been on the New York
I know
Times
it
bestseller
has,
list
yeah.
for like 22 weeks. I mean, it's been on there
I've seen it listed, yes.
forever. And I tell you what, it's written as a book, but it's also written in kind of like a graphic novel sort of like way too, with some pictures, and there will be some sayings like writings like is that comic book? I call it like comic book writing and stuff
Wasn't
like
Jenny
that.
B. Jones? Didn't they have like pictures through some of
I
theirs
think so.
too?
I think so. Yeah. Anyway,
Hannah Stilton.
this has to do with Flora. And she will tell you at the beginning of the book that she is a natural born cynic. And for those of you who doesn't know what a cynic is a person who believes that people do things only for themselves instead of for others. That they're only looking out for themselves and that they will only do stuff that will benefit them. So she will tell you that she is a natural born cynic, and she just sits in her room, reads her comic books because that's just what everybody else is going to do it, so why shouldn't she? Well, one day she's up in her bedroom and she's reading her comic book, and her next door neighbor has just gotten a brand new vacuum cleaner called the Ulysses 2000X.
Now, how old is this Flora?
I can't remember if it really says how old she is.
Is this a little kid, an old person?
I'm saying, no, she's like anywhere from 10 to 12, or maybe
and
13.
How old's her next door neighbor?
It's an older lady.
I was gonna say, she got a new vacuum cleaner. I'm thinking, how many kids are excited about a vacuum cleaner?
Well, Flora's not excited, but the neighbor's really excited about this new vacuum cleaner, and it's so powerful that she decides to bring the vacuum cleaner outside because she thinks it can suck up her leaves. She's going to use it to suck up the leaves.
That's a good way to break your vacuum cleaner real quick.
Well, it's supposed to be this, can do everything kind of vacuum cleaner. So anyway, like I said, Flora's laying on her bed, reading her comic book, and all of a sudden she just hears all this commotion. And this vacuum cleaner is so powerful that it kind of gets away from the next door neighbor, and it just kind of goes all over the whole yard by itself. Well, Flora jumps off her bed to go look out the window to see what all this commotion, all this noise is about. Well, she sees the vacuum cleaner, and she kind of sees it going off on its own, and then she sees it going towards the squirrel. And she's like, oh my gosh, it's going to suck up the squirrel. It's going to suck up the squirrel. So she hurries up and goes down the stairs and goes outside, and sure enough, the vacuum cleaner sucks up the squirrel. And Flora just basically goes ballistic. Well, they shut off the vacuum cleaner, and it spits out the squirrel, and Flora goes over there and decides to give it mouth-to-mouth resuscitation and brings the squirrel back to life. Well, after the squirrel comes back to life, it stands up, but you can see that there's a change in the squirrel. It's not acting like a normal squirrel. Flora swears that it's now become a superhero squirrel. And after reading her comic book that has to do with this superhero and these adventures, she decides with this squirrel that she's going to start doing adventures with this squirrel. And oh my gosh, it is so funny.
It sounds funny.
So cute. It is so cute. But you will have to read it because she takes the squirrel to a donut shop, and the squirrel, he because he's a superhero, he has like this outrageous appetite where he can just eat all this stuff. And the thing he does in the donut shop, I'm telling you, you will have to read the book. You will have to read the book. And like I said, it's in our juvenile department, and it's by Kate DiCamillo.
She's written something else.
Oh, she's written a bunch of books.
Something I read. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what it was, but I remember that name.
Oh, it's a great book. Are you done?
No.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know if you were.
Oh, yeah, I'm done with books.
Okay. The next book that I read is The One, and this is book 3 of the Selection series by Kara Cass. There's been quite a to-do about this series.
Mm-hmm.
Love this series.
That's been on the New York Times bestseller list for
I love
weeks.
this series. From the first time I read the very first book.
What's the first word? It's
the Selection.
And then it's the Elite.
The Elite, which this is a picture of the Elite. And then this is the last one, The One. I don't know how much to give away because if you haven't read the first ones, I don't want. So I'll kind of just give you a premise of the whole series.
There you go.
The whole series is about this girl, and her name is America. And this takes place in like futuristic, and everyone has been divided into classes due to economics and due to their wealth. So basically, the way it started is they took the whole population and how much money you had and what your we're looking for your career was, and there's classes. I think it's 1 to 7. I'm not quite for sure. I think it's 7 classes, and being the highest to the lowest. The problem is, whatever class you were born into, that's where you are. So when this first started, if your grandfather was poor, all of his relatives from then on are in that class. There is no chance really for improvement or advancement.
Can you marry somebody from a different class?
That's really
well,
frowned
okay.
on. It can happen, but the way it works is it can either make your class go down. If you're the female and you marry someone that is upper, you would go up. If you marry someone under, you would go under. So it's what the male is how decides.
I see. Okay.
Well, she is in love with one of her neighbors, and he's a class under her. Her class is already one of the lower classes. She's what they call the entertainment class. They are the musicians, the singers, the entertainers, and
well, that sure is different than our society today.
It is completely different. But they go around and entertain at the rich people's parties and for them. And I mean, they live.
Well, just out of curiosity, what are the rich? What's the highest class? What do they do?
That would be like your politicians and, yeah, that sort of.
Okay.
Yes. And so they make enough money that they're fed, but there are times that they're hungry, that they don't have quite enough food. His class is like the bottom, is like the medial workers, where they work in the farms and on the land, and they are starving most of the time. They die young because of their hard life. Well, every so often when there is a prince of the royalty, when he becomes of age, the way that his wife is chosen is by the selection process. So his father before him, if there was a boy, the father before him, and what they do is all of the girls of a certain age, send in their picture and about themselves, and they decide so many from each class to compete.
There's not a royalty class that he picks from?
No.
He can pick from any class?
Well, he doesn't really get to pick. That's what you've got to understand. It goes, and it is like The Bachelor, kind of.
I see.
But it's for also the ratings. There's a whole bunch of politics involved. She doesn't want to do it. Her boyfriend actually convinces her to try, because just by entering the selection series, if you're chosen as one of the 15 finalists, I think, you're automatically up 2 classes. And your whole family is from, and you get all this money. Even if he doesn't choose you, just by him. So that's their plan. And she is chosen. She does not want to do it. She's chosen. And she meets the prince, and she starts getting feelings for the prince. It's not what she thought. He's not this bad guy that she thought, and she really starts falling for him and him for her. But he also has feelings for some of the other girls, and the other girls for him. And some of these girls are willing to do anything to win.
That sounds like a good one.
And it's really good. There's a lot of, I think, politics, history, kind of. It's really good. And it couldn't have ended for me any better than it did. I loved the ending.
That helps tremendously.
It does. I mean, I teared up in this book. All of my girls that have read this that have come in and said, have you read the third one? Have you read the third one? Not yet. And they're like, oh, you're going to tear up. You're going to tear up. You do. I mean, because there's so many things. Yeah. So love the series by her. The trailers, the book trailers. I don't know if any of you guys have ever watched book trailers. I love to watch book trailers. Book trailers for this are pretty good. There was supposed to be a TV series of this, and they actually shot the pilot and the first couple episodes, and it's been put on hold. So whether it will ever come to be, but there was in the works a series. Loved it. And if you like that type of book where it's kind of like
Cinderella.
or a futuristic bachelor, you could say. There's this one called Matched by Ali Condé. This is also a really popular series. I don't know if you've heard of it. There's Matched, Crossed, and Reached. This is where everybody...
Is Matched the first one?
Yes, Matched is the first one. And this is where everybody at, I can't remember if it's 16, I think it's 16 or 18, I'm not for sure which, you are automatically matched with your perfect mate by the government. You're sent this video, And this video has who he is. You've never met him before, and that's, well, not always. There's a couple times you might have met him, but usually not. It's from all over. Then I'm going to match you based on all sorts of different things about your personality and everything, your IQ, and that's who you're going to meet, and that's who you're going to marry. There is no exceptions. That's who you're with. Well, she gets her video. She's all excited. It's her best friend, a guy best friend that she thinks is so good looking and has good, his name is Xander. But there's like a blip in the video. You know how sometimes you get static? And another guy's face and name pops up and then it's gone. Ooh. And she's like, why was he there? Who is that? When she questions them, they're like, you didn't see that. That wasn't there. She's like, yeah, it was. And they're like, no. And they ask for her take back and destroy it. They're like, there was something wrong with the program. And she's like, I don't think so. Did she get another tape or? The one just with Xander in it. No. But she saw the guy and she saw his name. So she decides to look him up. Ooh. And when she looks him up, she finds out that his family has been kind of like banished, that they've been in trouble for being like rebels, and that he is unmatched. What that means is, as punishment, when you do that, they will not match you. You're to stay single. Well, she decides, I want to meet him. And that is completely, you do not do that. So she ends up happening to go to this camp that she finds out that he's going to, and they meet, and it's instant sparks. There's instant chemistry. She knows this is who she's supposed to be with. So now what? Because if she stays with him, they can either be killed or they can be banished to somewhere else. So that's what this is about. I've read the first one. I have not read the other two. They're never in, so it's really hard to get them. But
you have to get them from another library.
Yeah, good series.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll have to keep those in mind if I ever get done with juvenile books. Okay, on to movies. The number one movie being rented right now is Divergent.
She wasn't impressed.
I was not impressed.
I liked
I
it.
really thought it was going to be a little more scientific, a little more detailed.
Well, the book is more detailed than the movie. That's just typical of any book and movie.
I just thought it was just a glorified love story is what I thought it was. It just, I don't know. I guess maybe my expectations were, I've heard so much about this series, and it's always been like the number one series on the bestseller list for I don't know how many weeks.
But the book is really big, like thick. So you're going to cut down a lot.
Well, they cut down a lot then.
You're going to have to.
Because it just seemed like a love story between her and this guy pictured in the thing. And I don't know, it just really didn't make no sense to me. It really didn't. And I was kind of hoping that I was going to watch this movie because, like I've always said, and I'll say it again, I'm very skeptical about watching a movie after I've read the book, because I know it's going to leave out a bunch of stuff and I just can't handle it. So I really thought that I was going to watch this movie and it would make me want to read the book. It didn't. So I'm thinking, no, I think I'll skip that series.
I've read the first two books, Divergent and
Allegiant?
Insurgent.
Insurgent is the next one, and Allegiant
I have not read the
third
third one, Allegiant, yet.
Yeah, Allegiant is the third one.
I've had several kids say that they didn't like the way it ended.
That's what the girl just told me.
Don't know if that's true, but I've heard that.
Yes.
But I haven't read the third one yet.
Yeah.
Once again, it is always out. I have not seen one of these three books in months. They just stay checked out.
Somebody's liking it, I guess.
I love the book, so yes.
So, well, maybe. I'll put it on my list, but it'll be way down there.
It's their big books, too.
The second most popular movie being rented is Noah. And let me tell you, people, don't waste your time. Don't waste your money, your time, your electricity.
That bad, huh?
That bad. It's horrible. If for anybody who has read anything pertaining to Noah in the Bible, you can just throw that out because it's not even biblically based. It is so far out there in left field and it's a 2 hour and 14 minute movie, and it's 2 hours of my life that I will never get back. That I am very sorry that I wasted 2 hours of my time. My husband even watched it, and he was just like, and who really doesn't know really that much about the Bible, and he was like, is that in there? I know. Anyway, and this is the fourth movie also being rented. Is Heaven is for Real? Fantastic.
I've wanted to see it.
Fantastic movie. It is so good. Let me just tell you that the little boy's father, he's a preacher. And it's his little boy that has it's not even called a near-death experience. I think it's his appendix ruptures. And he doesn't die on the operating table, but while they're working on him, he goes up to heaven. Well, what's funny is when he comes back and tells his dad of his experience in heaven, the dad, who is a preacher, thinks, yeah, I do all this preaching, I talk about heaven, but is it really real? I mean, is what this boy's saying, can this really be true?
And he's a preacher.
So here it is. It's practice what you preach, basically. That's what this whole movie is about, and it's a fantastic movie. Absolutely fantastic movie.
I want to see the other one, God Isn't Dead.
Yeah, God Isn't Dead. Yeah. Yeah, and then there's also another one that's out called Son of Man, which I haven't seen yet either. Yeah, God Is Not Dead is like the fifth one. I'm sure it'll be coming up here soon. So I haven't watched it yet, but I'll put that on my list. Music-wise, we've got some new ones. Thank goodness. Number one top radio song is Rude. Have you heard it?
I don't think so.
Why you got to be so rude?
I don't think I've heard it.
So cute.
Who's it by?
Magic. It's by Magic.
I don't think I've heard it.
It's the top radio song, and it's also the top pop song. And the video has to do with this boy wants to go marry this girl. So he goes to ask the father for her hand in marriage. And
I have heard the song.
And the father says, no. And he kind of slams the door in his face. And that's what the guy's saying. Why you got to be so rude? I'm human too. And I'm going to marry your daughter someday. And that's basically what the whole video is about, is that he goes ahead and marries her. And
I have heard the song. I haven't seen the video.
Very, very good song. It's a very catchy song, in my opinion. Top Country, Burning It Down by Jason Aldean. If you can use a word, and I don't really try to make this sound explicit, it's a sexy song. I mean, holy cow. If you listen to the words, holy cow is all I got to say. The video is nothing. It's the lyrics, and it's just showing you pictures of like candles burning and things like that. But it never shows Jason Aldean singing. It never shows a boy or a girl or anything. It's just if you can use that word, a sexy song. I mean, that's plain and simple. And of course, still top hip hop is I'm So Fancy. Fancy.
By
22
Iggy Azalea.
weeks on the chart as number one. It's never been any other spot but number one.
Wow.
And that's your music. Those are your videos and the books.
And books. So enjoy your movies, books, and music. And
Yep.
we will see you next week at There's a Book in My Nook.